welcome to Otaku Saga. I'm Zero.
I'm DK.
And I'm Rizzo.
And this is Otaku Saga Talks.
Where we talk.
Yeah.
About the good.
And the bad.
And the otaku.
Of fanservice. So, I know we just did the good, the bad, and the otaku of the majority of things that we were talking about, and, in fact, fanservice was definitely part of that. But, with the most recent Shimatsu no Izetta and a couple of other things that have come up, I think it's necessary to go deeper down the rabbit hole.
Damn furry.
So, anyway, I think I want to actually go ahead and start out with the bad.
Okay.
Because it's so fresh in my mind.
Yep.
So, getting like directly into Shimatsu no Izetta, because that has been such a I wouldn't say controversial, but polarizing anime as far as the
Communities and
as far as the anime community at large. So in this most recent episode, spoiler alert, I guess.
Like on every Otaku Saga video?
Yeah. In this most recent episode, they force in some fan service where, actually, I'll try to make it as spoiler free as possible.
What a guy.
So they force in some fan service where a certain character walks in on Bianca being bathed.
The problem I think that I have with this scenario is that certain character had no place in the event of which all this occurred.
Well, so in my opinion, that particular episode, I didn't feel that character needed to be there for that plot to take place. But not only that, in that plot, that scene is not necessary.
And
in that unnecessary plot, that scene is unnecessary. That's double unnecessary.
And yeah, the whole thing was just like, what the hell?
Like, why?
Anyway.
Actually, my face during the entire reaction was like, why?
yeah, I mean, that whole episode could have just been negated with more thought out storytelling earlier on in the series. You know, better setup, you know, between the certain character to keep it spoiler free.
Mm-hmm. But Shimatsu no Izetta as a whole has had some kind of strange moments of fan service. Some stuff that was a little more forced in than it really needed to be.
Yeah.
Even going back to the previous episode, there was a little Yuri moment between Fine and Izetta.
I would posit that every Yuri moment between Fine and Izetta from episode 4 onward is kind of unnecessary, kind of repetitive, and I mean, yeah, we get it. They're very close. I mean, you do it anymore at this rate, you're going to cheapen it.
Yeah,
I think that's really the problem there. We on our 3 episodes in podcast or talk show, whatever. Yeah, the first impressions, we were still praising that anime for good fan service, for well done storyline, for being, you know, very close to historical recreations as it can be. And then literally the next episode was like, I'm just gonna shit all over that opinion of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely started down that route in episode 4, which is a shame, really, because, yeah, I mean, like you said, up until episode 4, this was like one of our favorites.
Well, yeah. So on the good side of fan service for the series, like episode 1 You got a shot of Fine showering. But at the same time, it actually helped progress the story because it showed the scar that she had from an injury she received protecting Izetta.
Exactly. I mean,
when they were younger.
That you have your artwork helping to tell the story. I mean, that's just the basic of animation.
But yeah, you get fan service, but at the same time, it helps the story. In episode 2, I'm trying to think of the fan service in episode 2. I think it was a lot lighter. I think it was a bit lighter. Kind of ratcheted back. I think it was mostly just Izetta, like when Izetta was flying, because she only had like a medical robe on or whatever.
Right when
so
it
showed a lot of her ass.
Yeah.
The 2 was kind of light. It picked a bit back up in 3 with sort of the more comical, I guess, kind of moments.
3, I believe that was the Battle of
Kannenberg.
Yeah, the one where she actually got into the battle.
Yeah,
and so you get an ass shot in a tank window and
that long descending crotch shot.
Yeah, long descending crotch shot.
We praised those fan services, because those they fit. They were well done.
They weren't overt.
Yeah, they weren't.
They weren't overt. They weren't out of place. And I mean, they haven't been really repeated again.
Yeah. They
haven't been beaten to death, really.
In episode 4, I think, is where it starts to go downhill. Which I think is where a lot of people started having problems with it too. Where, you get the scene with Izetta being changed. Okay, that one I still consider to be on the better side, but I could see how they could cut that out.
Yeah.
But
that should have been the line.
Yeah.
Right
then you get Elvira doing the groping, and that's when it starts to go over the line a little bit. And then episode 5. Oh man, I'm trying to remember. Sometimes it's hard to remember like all the little moments, but basically from that particular point is when it started to go downhill, and then you'd start having the moments of overt Yuri moments, which I feel doesn't fit with the story. Like, obviously that's not really my thing. I'm not into the Yuri anime, but I feel that it doesn't fit because of the time period that it's trying to portray here.
Okay.
Personally, I don't mind the Yuri. They are definitely, when Yuri gets highlighted heavily, it gets grating. And what I mean by highlighted is another anime that we're watching, Magical Girl Raising Project, Maha Shoujo Ikisei Keikaku. There is a lesbian couple, a Yuri couple.
Yeah. Actual lesbians.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are actual lesbians. And I have no problem with the way that they portrayed that relationship.
No, I have absolutely no problem with the way that they portrayed that relationship in that particular series.
Yeah, in Magical Girl Raising Project, the relationship between Nana and Winter Prison is a legitimate romantic relationship. I mean, you just see a couple in love right there. Yeah. With Izetta, it seems like a half-hearted attempt to create sexual tension between two characters who are just friends. Longtime friends and all that, but just friends. I mean, it's kind of establishes that's what they are.
I think that's the real defining line that we have.
Yeah.
Is when it's legitimate and you're upfront with it, we're fine with it. I mean, even the weirdness of La Pucella and Snow White, that was Yuri-esque, but at the same time,
was it though?
Yeah. And that just
Yuri-esque
made
at
things
times.
that actually did make things a little interesting and funny. And those two characters, really do click with each other.
But at the same time, Magical Girl Raising Project isn't really it's not a fan service anime, so
It's not really a happy anime either.
no,
So-
you don't really get that.
You ain't getting a happy ending out of it. No way.
Yeah. So
But yeah, my big gripe, again, was sticking with the Izetta example. Like I said earlier, they just keep trying to create tension between Izetta and Fine, and usually with the same way, kind of with Fine kind of pinning Izetta down or something like that. It's been the case over the last 2 or 3 episodes, and they're kind of that. I hesitate to call it a gag. I guess maybe that scene is starting to overstay its welcome a little bit. It's getting a little stale.
Extremely. And I would totally say, yeah, the gag's old.
Now, that being said, there are other anime out there which have, say, similar scenes. I have to call upon to the stand, as it were, the shining example of ecchi anime, High School DxD. Anything having to do with boobs. Because you get a lot of that.
well, High School DxD for the most part actually gets a pass for its fan service because that's what you expect from that anime.
That is true.
Like Shumatsu no Izetta, you don't like when I watched the first episode, second episode, third episode, I still wasn't expecting all of these, oh well, let's show her changing, let's show her bathing, let's show this character bathing.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about what you expect from the series. I mean, High School DxD, you find a synopsis, Issei is a fucking pervert. With Shonatsu no Izetta, you're expecting alt history story of 9-year Miyazaki quality. And by and large, early on, that's what you get.
Yeah. Early on.
Yeah.
Actually, can we take a look at exactly what they have marketed as
Okay.
in terms of taglines? Action, historical, military.
Yeah.
There you go.
Where is the need for fan service in any of those?
Yeah, well, that's my big gripe with Izetta at the moment anyway, is that it doesn't need any of this fan service.
It really doesn't. I mean, no. And here is actually where it parallels with High School DxD. If you remove the fan service elements, they're both great stories.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with that. The thing with High School DxD is it was marketed as
Marketed, written that way.
yeah.
Yeah, it was originally written that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, but that's what the creator wanted, and it's
Now-
great for it still.
When you start throwing in fan service just to cater to those markets, you start ruining the product.
Yeah, it's like putting hot sauce on a cake.
Especially throughout the season. We are on episode 8?
I think it was episode 8.
And we're on episode 8 of Shumatsu no Izetta. The first 3 episodes, we were like, oh my god, this
Absolutely
is
floored.
fantastic. I mean, even the fan service is well done.
I would go as far to say that in the first 3 episodes, Shumatsu no Izetta was either my top pick or at the very least in my top 3.
Yeah, it was a unanimous favorite of all of us. So,
At the current moment, the fan service isn't the only thing that kind of screws it up. There's a lot of issues I have with the series currently, but right now it's not even in my top 5. It might not even be in my top 10.
And that's
So
just
that's sad.
And I do think that it's just because they wanted to fit in this unnecessary fan service. Unfortunately, I actually don't know what the original.
It's an original series.
Original word.
Oh, it's an original series.
Yeah.
So yes, they are completely doing this strictly to make Blu-ray sales.
And again, they don't need to. It's absolutely fine.
The first 3 episodes were fantastic.
Yeah.
After those 3 episodes, you ruined it with fan service.
They could have copied and pasted the first 3 episodes a few more times and made a 12-episode series.
Right?
I mean, change the story around a wee bit, but that would have been just fine. Would have been one of my favorites. But they're kind of beating the dead horse now.
Yep. And then you have other things that actually go back to that. Another interesting little take on the fan service genre in general, and which I think actually does a really fantastic job. Shokugeki no Soma.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we go from something that, like Shimatsu no Izetta, Ange Verge, a few other animes that we've been watching, have ruined things with fan service, has ruined things with Yuri. Amanchu, ruined it with a Yuri.
Yeah, it was a little.
Maybe not ruined it. They didn't stick to the stated subject at all for 11 episodes.
But yeah, and then you have something that Shokugeki no Soma, it is labeled with an ecchi tag.
And that's the signature, when everyone's clothes fly off when they taste the food because of how good it is. That's just the signature look.
Well, it's not even that. It doesn't try that hard.
No.
Like it doesn't I can't think of any times in the series like where you get those kind of cheap moments like him walking in on a girl changing or anything like that.
That's true. It's mainly just that visual gag.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we're like, oh man, that gag's old. However, you turn to Shokugeki no Soma, and every time it happens, you're like, yeah!
They put a nice little twist. They put a nice, or in some cases, a not so nice twist on it.
Well, it's equal opportunity fan service.
It really is. I was thinking a not so nice twist. What was his name? Dojima in the schoolgirl outfit.
Oh,
you're welcome for the imagery. But still, I mean, it's funny. It grabs your attention.
It's hilarious.
And it's a signature.
It's not out of place. The author made it the signature for the series, and it sticks to that. It doesn't cheapen the fan service by going back to some of those old fan service cliches.
Or the gag itself is repeated, but the author puts enough twists in it to keep it interesting. Not like your usual, say, sexual tension scenes between Izetta and Fine. So, again, I hesitate to call it a running gag, but with Shokugeki no Soma, it really is. I think that's how you do an ecchi running gag well.
Yeah, that's how you do it in a fantastic way. I mean, first off, you have to be upfront with your marketing.
That is true. You can't just bait and switch people.
Yeah. What Shimatsu no Izetta has done with us is bait and switch.
And at an excruciatingly slow pace, too. It wasn't just like, all of a sudden, cheap fan service. It was a little more, I'm pained to say this, it was a little more insidious than that.
Sorry, for anybody who's watching the YouTube version of this, I'm scrolling through our livechart.me, which is the site that we use for our anime chart stuff. And I'm scrolling through last season, and I scroll down, and the two that are on my screen are Taboo Tattoo and Masogaku and HH.
Oh boy.
Both, I think, fall into the bad category.
bad.
Actually, I think Maso Gakuen might fall into the ugly category.
Actually, I think
Taboo Tattoo might fall into the ugly category because it's more of a sucker punch, I think.
I'm completely on the other side of that story with you.
Yeah.
But,
well, so let's take Maso Gakuen. We've talked about High School DxD and why we feel that it's not that bad because that's what the series is supposed to be.
I think it's
But Maso Gakuen, that's what the series is supposed to be, but it still doesn't come off good.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Which is funny.
It is funny, yeah. I mean, if you take away the fan service, and again, I'm going to probably say this a lot over the course of this podcast, if you take away the fan service from Maso Gakuen, you have an Infinite Stratos knockoff, and it's not that good.
Pretty much. And I mean, if you want to go that route, Infinite Stratos, if you take off the fan service, is a terrible story.
Actually, Maso Gakuen, you can't take the fan service away.
Yeah, actually, that is true.
You cannot have this story without fan service.
That is true.
Just because it's designed that way.
Yeah.
It is absolutely...
The character's powers are dependent upon sexual contact.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
Which, oddly enough, you have specified the market that you are having ecchi all over the place.
What, porno shops?
Yep.
It's pretty much a hentai. I mean,
well,
the Blu-ray is very borderline, like full-on adult video.
It might as well just be a hentai.
Yeah.
It would make it a little more the fan service a little more forgivable.
And by hentai standpoint, I think it's an okay piece of work.
Yeah.
But
not spectacular, but okay.
Yeah. But that's if you claim it as a hentai. It has no meaning in being called being
an anime on like a respectable television audience. Actually, was this I don't think this would be a daytime.
No. I'm
ATX.
Let me put it this way. I would bet a large sum of money that Maso Gakuen probably aired during Otaku Hour. Otaku O'Clock, I believe, is the technical term. Basically between 11 at night and like the wee hours of the morning.
Dude, we should totally come up with a show called Otaku O'Clock. As long as you call it Otaku Saga Talks from now on.
Anyway, yeah, there's no way that aired during normal hours.
But the way that they portray everything, yeah, it was amusing
for a while.
Yeah, it was a little over the top. I enjoyed the fan service.
Yeah, I didn't mind how over the top it was. I mean, it was no Aiken, that's for sure. But it was kind of a guilty pleasure. I wasn't expecting it to be a great story or a great overall anime.
Well, yeah, and then like for. I'm going to bring this up because of another couple of series that I'm going to bring up later, but the breast size in Maso Gakuen,
they're ridiculous.
Yeah, aired on the side of ridiculousness because, like, when you get that one villain, like, we didn't even finish the fucking series.
Yeah, we dropped after, like, what, episode 6?
Yeah, something like that. But you get that one villain who it literally looks like they pasted a couple of circles on her chest.
Could you imagine a crossover series or crossover art between Maso Gakuen and Triage X? Or High School of the Dead? Speaking
of series I was going to bring up, it's Triage X and High School of the Dead. And I would definitely put Triage X in the ugly category. High School of the Dead goes between bad and ugly in fan service. High School of the Dead was actually a really good series, like story-wise, but the fan service was straight up dumb. Like, the author of that series, you can always tell which female characters are going to be important based off the breast size. So, like High School of the Dead, if you see a female character who is not like G cup or higher, basically, if you see a female character that doesn't have like G cup or higher or is a child, that character is going to die. Like, straight up. I can't think of a female character in that series who didn't die who was smaller.
So I had an interesting thought. What would happen if you had an anime that went in the opposite direction of that?
Probably wouldn't be that popular.
Lolicon hentai?
I wonder. I actually wonder.
That is interesting.
I'm more on the Team Justice side anyway, but I'm not saying make all the characters like flat-chested. I'm just saying at least realistic.
Yeah, but
or more realistic.
But that idea would be interesting, at least for the sake of satire.
Yeah, the bigger the tits,
the more likely they are.
The more likely they are to die.
Even better.
And then a character from Aiken shows up, and you just know.
What if the excessive bust size is the reason for their downfall? Like they get snagged on something, or they like knock themselves out. The possibilities are endless.
I now must find a way to make this happen.
Patreon.com/Otaku Saga. I mean, what?
But then you get like Triage X, and again, it's a little bit on the ridiculous side, where these chicks are assassins basically.
Yeah.
Like, and God,
they need to be limber. And
that series, like seriously, just terrible. and that's a series that the author wanted to write more than High School of the Dead. That's the series that the author of High School of the Dead repeatedly put High School of the Dead on hiatus to write.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then in High School of the Dead, then you start getting the really dumb, ridiculous fan service. Booby bullet time.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it. That's the big one that you got to point out there. That was so stupid and so ridiculous.
Yeah, but what prevents, I think, both of those stories from going into like ugly category is that's the author's style. All sizzle, no steak. A lot of flash and not a whole lot of substance, unless it's silicone.
But yeah, that's where High School of the Dead goes into the like bad, like ugly territory for fan service. It's like, wow, how fucking retarded. And the other really
I'm still thinking
fan service is the teacher. Ridiculous.
I'm still thinking of Booby Bullet Time and just how painful that would be. I mean, to go full 90 degrees and have that much mass swinging around, that would hurt.
Like dumb. Like dumb.
It really depends on exactly how fluffy the tits are.
They were quite weighty.
Weighty and fluffy can be... They don't have to be, different.
But just... it just looks painful to me.
But for the boobs to be moving fast enough that of course they're moving independently of each other, which is...
Of course.
A whole nother thing in anime. But for them to be moving fast enough that like it passes underneath one, and then they flex this way, and it passes underneath the other one, or something like that. I can't remember. It might have been over the top.
That much moving that fast, you think they'd rip off?
Yeah, they probably would.
Yeah.
So stupid. Okay, I want to stop talking about those series.
Yeah. Hurting your brain?
Yeah, just so dumb.
Good fan services.
Okay.
Good fan services.
What's some good fan service? You're looking for recent examples, huh?
Yeah, I am looking for some recent examples of good fan service.
Actually, let me go back to Taboo Tattoo real quick.
Oh.
So Masogakuin versus Taboo Tattoo. That idea that we were just having. Now, Taboo Tattoo, it's an interesting little tidbit where the fan service wasn't like extreme.
It had its moments. Not a whole lot of like full-on playing scenes from what I remember.
Yeah.
But it had a couple moments.
It had a couple moments. The big thing about Taboo Tattoo was how polarizing those moments were. And I touched up on this, I think in the last show, the last
episode
talk we did.
Oh.
Taboo Tattoo doesn't have a art style change. And things like Drifters, Hellsing, Shokugeki no Soma,
or to like indicate what kind of scene you're in.
Yeah, I mean, you even get that. You get that in Trigun.
You know, Kill la Kill.
When those art shifts come, you know when things are stopping serious, and in with the comedy. Taboo Tattoo didn't do that. Because of that, we were like, what's going on here? Yet you never quite knew what was serious and what was comedy. So it really just changes everything.
Changes its mood on you, but doesn't give you a warning.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just seems just out of place.
And then when it goes back to the seriousness, then you get that again.
Yeah.
And it almost makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable when it happens.
Yeah, I said before that Taboo Tattoo kind of had a few like fan servicey moments, like when Bluesy was fighting the pervy whip guy. Okay, battle damage.
Well, yeah, okay, so a lot of times for the fan servicey moments, even going back into what we were talking about with Shimatsu no Izetta, for a lot of the fan service in the first couple episodes, it's on TV tropes what they would call male gaze, where the camera is specifically looking at certain angles,
right,
to provide fan service without derailing the series. So, in the case that you were just talking about, where like
Bluesy's battle damage, or
Bluesy Fruzy's, God, that name,
retarded.
But her battle damage, where it's kind of showing from that angle, so that you get the shot of her skirt all fucked up, or her shirt ripped or whatever. Or in Shimatsu no Izetta, you get the shots where Izetta is flying through the air and she's only wearing the medical robe, so you get a nice view of her ass. Or in the episode where she jumps into the battle and you're getting the long crotch shot, or the shot of her ass in the tank window.
That's all those action
something
shots.
like that.
That's all tame by comparison to what we've been talking about.
That's actually what I consider better fan service, because it doesn't necessarily take away from the show.
Yeah, and that's been a part of anime since Go Nagai descended from the heavens, really.
It's hilarious about that trope. That's what Keijo's bait. Like,
I was just about to talk about Keijo. I would actually put Keijo in the good fan service category.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is like, it takes that male gaze trope and blows it out of proportion, like complete out of proportion. And yeah, it's all about tits and ass. It's all about tits and ass.
No, but it's literally about tits and ass.
Yeah.
And
you smack them around. That's it.
What I actually think is really, really funny is this is marketed as ecchi. This is marketed as fan service.
You know exactly what you're getting into. A bunch of girls in swimsuits, shaking TNA around, knocking each other off with it.
What's really funny? It's not that heavy on it.
That's true. Yeah, surprisingly light on the actual ecchi content. Other than, showing the girls in tight swimsuits, which it does all the time.
So tight swimsuits, locker room scenes, and then one of the elite class girls saying that you want to go out and hit on guys during the class trip. That's really about it. It is, other than that, it's a sports anime, just that sport involves tits and ass. That's it.
And it's actually a really good sports anime. Like, I find myself a lot of times more interested in the sport than I do in the fan service.
Yeah.
Which is a very surprising thing to me in this show.
And I actually think that makes Keijo like
one of the best fan service series that we've watched in a while.
I would probably go so far to say it might just take High School DxD's place as the fan service anime to go to.
Okay. Well, again, it comes down to what I'm going to start calling DK's rule of fan service. You could take it away. If you can take away the fan service and it's still enjoyable, the fan service is good.
Which rule should we make that, DK?
Which rule of anime?
Yes, which rule of anime should we make that?
We have to do a separate podcast for that, my friend. We got to actually, we got to write it down and just...
Pick a number between 2 and 100.
Because if you watch this for any length of time, you know rule number 1. That will be coming soon, by the way, so brace yourselves for it.
So just, I was kind of going through some of the previous seasons again.
Okay.
And I wanted to stop and talk about Gaku Sentoshi Asterisk.
Okay.
Because the series overall isn't like that super heavy on fan service.
No.
But I remember way back when in episode 1, because the first season of Gaku Sentoshi came out
the same season as Rakudai Kishi no Cavalry.
Rakudai Kishi no Cavalry.
Right, here we go.
And the very first episode started out almost exactly the same.
Naive young male protagonist sneaks into bedroom of red-headed main female protagonist, gets his ass beat.
While the girls are changing.
While the girls are changing. They're basically the exact same.
At that point, I do remember we were doing like a podcast or something, and we actually got confused on which one we were talking about.
We did. I don't think it was a podcast. I think it was a reaction. The reaction, but we just brought it up.
No, actually, it was going to be our first impressions thing that we would ever do.
Yeah. Oh. But yeah, we ended up actually getting confused on which series was which. But that particular fan service scene, which you see a lot.
Okay, well, what also didn't help in this particular example was the fact that the Combat Magic High School series was in vogue at the time, and so I mean we watched those two. I think I didn't think we did reactions to them, but we saw some the previous season, and it's just
the previous season.
The market was saturated, to say the least.
Could you do me a favor and could you pull up Rakudai's thing here?
Yeah.
All right.
I just noticed something about Gaku Sentoshi. So the synopsis that we have here on Live Chart actually labels it as an ecchi anime.
For Gaku Sentoshi?
For Gaku Sentoshi. And I actually want to go back. That was
Okay.
the first 3 episodes, I believe, were mildly ecchi.
Wow. I think I see where you're going with this, Zero.
That's interesting. So we have it pulled up right now.
Now, Gaiku Santoshi, it started off with this ecchi introduction between 2 characters.
Right.
Cool.
The boy meets girl scene.
That's fine. That's funny. It's completely overplayed. But I never liked Gaiku Santoshi. And I think that it was actually because I saw that tag and I was expecting something that I never got.
That is true. I mean, if you're expecting ecchi out of Gaiku Santoshi, by and far, Rocket Aikishi no Cavalry had far more ecchi moments.
And we're looking at them literally side by side, and for Gaiku Santoshi, I see action, comedy, ecchi, fantasy, romance, school, sci-fi.
For Rocketai, action, fantasy, romance, school.
We'll stop right there.
Done.
That's it. Gaiku Santoshi.
Rocket Aikishi had that moment at the beginning, and then you get repeated moments of,
I have to say this.
Between Stella and Iki, and then also between Iki and, I forget his sister's name, his sister.
Yeah. All right, who's the name, the main character in Gaiku Santoshi again? And what an impression he's made, yes. But his sister doesn't come up to him in school and French kisses him. You get that in episode 2?
His sister is also missing, so...
Okay, but no one comes up to him and French kisses him in front of the whole goddamn academy. That happens episode 2 of Rocket Aikishi.
Every episode of Rocket Aikishi,
2 or 3, I forget.
Actually, almost every episode. Towards the end, it actually toned down and got really, really, really serious. And that's why I personally loved Rocket Aikishi a hell of a lot more than like Gaiku Santoshi Asterisk. But that is actually extremely interesting because when at the beginning of the podcast, at the beginning of the talk show, we're like, yeah, you should actually market yourself correctly. Gaiku Santoshi
did not market itself correctly.
Ecchi? Where is it? And then
the only bits that ecchi are that bit at the beginning, and then basically every scene with what's her name, the school president.
Yeah.
Because she calls Ayato to her room when she's bathing and shit like that. But
that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't even think that would... I feel that doesn't even deserve an ecchi tag.
No, wasn't Claudia? She's more of a femme fatale character.
And it's so weakly there.
Yeah.
And then you have Rocket Aikishi. It's not in the tag here, which is interesting.
They didn't market it as such. Or maybe... It could also be a website error.
It could also be a website error.
We gotta take the possibility into account at least.
But Rocket Aikishi, it wasn't necessarily. It was almost like ecchi of the week on almost all the first 8 episodes.
Well, we should still have the reactions up for Rocket Aikishi, correct?
Nope.
No.
We only have 1 episode available.
That was one of the ones where it was just like the anime was coming through way too loud and we kept getting copyright issues.
I have to do that again someday.
We have to go rewatch that one.
But from the original takes, we've dubbed Stella Our Lady of Fanservice because
pretty much
she did not disappoint
ever.
Ever.
But I think that it's actually really interesting that Rocket Aikishi did something that counteracts everything that we've been saying this entire podcast. At least if the tags on this website are to be believed.
Right.
Then it didn't market as ecchi. Let's not get to that one. Rocket Kishi actually does something rather interesting, and I think it actually plays a role in why I like Rocketei so much more than Gakusentoshi. It had this weird, ecchi moment of the week, where every episode it had a different type of fan service, and it didn't play any outplayed gags.
So episode 1, you had your, the little boy meets girl scene. Episode 2, you had Shizuku come and plant one on Ikki. I forgot the episode number, but later in the series, you had Stella in the cabin, so on and so forth.
You also had a battle damage moment.
Yeah, well, a couple of those, actually.
Well, I mean, for those sorts of series, you expect battle damage.
Right.
Yeah.
I think probably another reason why Rocketei Kishi didn't stick out for, in my opinion, as something that should have marketed itself differently, even if it's just a website error, is that I've come to expect a certain amount of ecchi from those series.
Okay.
Because the magical high school series are typically marketed towards the kind of probably 18 to
Young adults.
Yeah, basically young adult men.
Will the term be seinen? Or
that's kind of wider reaching than just saying young adults.
That's true. Well, all right, so put in the American term, 18-24 male.
Yeah, pretty much.
A very coveted demographic, too. So.
But that's why I come to expect ecchi from those sorts of series. So that's why it didn't really pop out at me as something that was egregiously wrong.
Yeah.
And then plus, like you said, the fan service wasn't over the top, and it wasn't. It did touch on a lot of cliches, a lot of honestly bad cliches, but it didn't go too far with them.
Although, to an extent, you also kind of expect cliches in series like that anyway. I mean,
it's true.
I call them clones for a reason.
I actually completely forgot, but I was just looking through that season. There was Gakusentoshi Asterisk, Rocketei Kishi, and the 35th Test Platoon.
35th Test Platoon, yeah.
All three of those are magical high school series. So, where we say, oversaturation of the market,
If you want to stretch it, maybe you could include Shinmai no Testament Burst, which came out that season, and the second season of Wawari no Seraph. If you said, if you want to stretch it.
You probably could. Shinmai no Testament.
Yeah, now you opened up a can of worms. Ugly category.
Whereas I
Ranging between bad and ugly.
Whereas I called Masagaku and HH an Infinite Stratos knockoff, I will stick to my opinion that this is a High School DxD knockoff.
It seems like the author of the series went, okay, High School DxD was popular, and it went pretty far, but I bet I could do better if I go further. Because High School DxD had, it has those moments where Issei is, cuddling with the girls naked, or
right.
One of the girls is trying to fuck him or whatever. But it never goes further than that. Mostly because of the publishing company that the light novels are published by.
Actually, I think the author has come out and said if it wasn't for the publishing company, Issei would have totally been laid by now.
Yeah.
Poor bastard.
But, I mean, it's 18 novels in, and he's never going to get it because they can't put that in. They can't put that in the work because the publisher won't allow it. Which,
fuck you guys.
No, I mean,
yeah.
The author does a good job of working around that limitation.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good example of creativity under a constriction or a limitation.
Yeah.
So,
and the sexual tension that makes is on point.
Whereas Shin My Mount, it seems to have that same restriction because I don't, unless it happened in the second core. Basara? Yeah, Basara.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think that he's gotten laid, but it does everything except for insertion. Like, literally. Everything that you could do except for insertion, pretty much.
Yep. And from what I've seen...
And it leaves nothing to the imagination.
Yeah, I mean, if you took the Blu-ray and just shifted a few pixels in some frames, it's a hentai.
Yep.
I mean, that's it.
And that's actually a shame, because it actually like spits in the face of High School DxD in a little bit. Because High School DxD, it really plays off of that sexual tension.
Mm-hmm.
It's all, it really is. The fan service is really based on the tension.
Yeah, I mean, the prospect of Issa getting, like, say, you know, fondle Rias's boobs or something like that, you know, become the harem king, that's his motivation. I mean, it drives him to try and become a stronger demon, which he still kind of fails at times. I mean, I don't think he's still gotten a soul 18 novels in, hasn't he? Can neither confirm nor deny.
Spoilers!
Never mind. Well, let's not go there then.
Let me just put it this way. The entire Rias group becomes very powerful. And that includes Issei, but it's also mostly because of Issei. Because of the power that he possesses, they have to get stronger.
Ah, okay.
Because they're going to be targets. However, so he still sucks at being a demon,
Right.
or he still sucks at being a devil. Like the actual job of being a devil and getting contracts.
Right.
But it's not like he's like that super weak bitch who always just fails at everything.
Okay.
That is a major point of comedy, and
Especially when you get when he gets the full boost mode,
Juggernaut drive.
and then
not the Juggernaut drive, just the full armor.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Once you hit that point, he actually becomes like immensely stronger,
Right, well, he more or less becomes Drake.
and he gets much more powerful at that point. But I think that at that point, the series becomes a lot more serious.
The tone, kind of getting a little off topic with the fan service discussion, but the tone of the novels is a lot more serious than the tone of the anime.
Okay.
So it's at that point it really starts becoming a difference between the novels and the anime. So
That's another discussion for another time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm sure that I'll have something to say about that when we do the reaction for the 4th season,
Which is totally gonna happen.
which was announced recently. So
Wait, you have caught up with everything? You've caught up with the anime and all that?
I haven't read all the novels, but I don't really need to in order to know where the anime is supposed to go.
But I'm just saying, like,
I think we're caught up on the anime.
yeah,
Yeah.
sweet.
Wait, hold up. Otaku Saga's caught up on a series?
Well, it's not like we've done reactions for it.
True.
I'm just saying, like, that's completely unintentional, because when Born came out, I was still living in Colorado.
Yeah.
But I've actually
Still
caught up
watched
with
it.
that.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, Show My Mount on Testament was a bad fan service series.
If it were, like, say, funnier, I could accept it as, like, say, a piss take on High School DxD, but it's not. It just tried to rip it off.
well, it actually goes back to that rule. When you try to take the fan service out of Shin My Mao, it doesn't work as a story. Because can't. The progression actually revolves around Basara.
Yeah.
Basara has to have sexual contact with his succubus and what's her face.
Yeah,
Well,
Maria.
the girls that he's made contracts with.
Yep.
Yeah.
He actually has to have sexual contact with them in High School DxD. The sexual contact is purely accidental.
Or it's optional.
Yeah, it's optional.
It's an option in that one, whereas in Shinmai Mao, it's the engine, to go off the car analogy there.
Yep. And it's not a very good engine.
Well,
Not really.
High School DxD has moments of fan service that are kind of necessary for the plot, like that you can't take out. For instance, I don't know if I should put this spoiler alert or not. It has been a while since the third season came out, but
We put a spoiler alert on the whole podcast, so
there's the part where Issei powers himself up by poking Rias's nipples.
Yes.
And that's actually necessary for the story, and you can't really take it out. But it still doesn't go quite over the top of what Shinmai Mao does.
Yeah.
And you don't, and it's not like it's something that's used every episode like in Shinmai Mao.
Actually, fan service, being essential to the plot, and having it, I think, in my opinion, done right. Go back a little further than this. Kenzen Robo Dime a Dollar.
Oh god, that series. You know why the fan service works in that series a lot? Because it is a parody series.
It is. It is a pure piss take on Mecha. And,
Like,
I mean, even if it weren't, like, say, just being a parody of the genre, the comedy is just so over the top. And just so, like, man.
I find a lot of times for comedy series, I give them a lot more of a pass than series that are trying to be super serious. Which is another reason why I give High School DxD a pass over Shinmai Mao no Testament, because High School DxD, on top of being a really actiony shonen type series, it's also a comedy. Like when they're not battling, chances are it's comedy.
And
Whereas Shinmai Mao no Testament is, I mean, it straight up doesn't.
It's serious.
Have a comedy tag.
It's serious, and then it tries to be serious when it shouldn't be. But in the case of Dime a Dollar, I mean, it's just like funny all the time.
Yeah.
Or
Funny
or all the time.
Straight
or
up a
just
parody
badass.
of the giant robot genre.
And I
say
think
what
that
it's a
also
word.
goes into Konosuba.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Konosuba has a lot of fan service too. Between the panty stealing and darkness and
Kazuma's last day alive. Or his last days after he puts on the cursed choker.
oh my god.
Where he's just sitting there making darkness do exercises, being waited on hand and foot, zero fucks given. Good God, over the top and absolutely hilarious. And when the truth's exposed, epic comeuppance.
Yeah, but again, Konosuba more or less gets a pass because it is a comedy.
Like if you go into Konosuba expecting, I actually think that we actually mentioned this in one of the discussions. If you go into Konosuba expecting a serious story plot, you're going to be sorely upset.
Yeah, and then taking two series that one came out basically right after Konosuba was finished, where it's two series that are guy goes into another world plot. You get Konosuba and you get ReZero.
Oh, jeez.
Can you imagine how outraged we would be if ReZero put in cheap fan service?
Oh, extremely.
Like imagine during the mansion arc if Subaru like kept walking into the bath when one of the girls was bathing or multiple girls were bathing. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work for that series.
It would be more like...
But for Konosuba, you know, if Kazuma walks into the bathroom when one or all of the girls are bathing, that works for that series.
But interestingly enough, there was one that actually worked. Haito Gensen no Grimgar.
So in Grimgar, it received a pass because of how it was played, where there was the one character that was trying to be perverted, and then the other characters that were like, "No, dude, no, don't do it, don't do it," you know.
But you could definitely tell that the artists loved Yumi.
Yume, yeah.
They loved
not
Yumi.
even just Yume, but God, I forget the other girl's name.
Mary?
No, not Mary. The
maid?
Shioru, I think?
Yeah, Shioru. But the artists really loved drawing both the characters.
I could see why.
And, you know, they like showing, like the moments of male gaze, which, again, I put as more acceptable fan service. Like, obviously, you know, Yume is very...
Yume in short shorts.
Shapely. And she wears tight clothing anyway.
Well, actually, there were moments where the male gaze didn't need to be satiated, and it still worked out as good fan service. One of the later episodes, if not the last episode, Ranta?
Yep.
In the boat,
Yep.
looking at Yume rock climbing.
In fact, it was such a far off shot. It had nothing to do with the male gaze, but you knew that Ranta was looking at that ass going, "That ass."
Right.
And also, I gotta admit, nice bit of wordplay there, you know, with the little man in the boat, standing straight up. Well played, A1. Well played. Took me a few seasons to realize it, or at least be able to talk about it on camera.
But
That one actually did it very, very well. And interestingly enough, that would probably never happen again.
Well, in the case of Grimgar, I say it gets a pass because it's just in small but effective doses. It's not, you know, drawn out like you get in Shimatsu no Izetta, not the same thing. Just little, very well done, you know, very creative fan service moments. Or at least in the case of like the bath scene, kind of true to life.
yeah, actually, that's the thing about a lot of the good ones that we're talking about. It's more or less true to life. Like with Grimgar, what would happen if you formed a basically a RPG party with, you know, people that you didn't know. There were attractive females there.
A bunch of teenagers.
And you all have to live in the same house because you're so fucking poor.
Yeah.
And you're all around the same age.
What up, raging hormones?
Yeah, you know, of course, like, at least one of the dudes is going to be like, I'm going to try to fucking hit that.
Well, let's take a peek.
Or at least take a peek, you know?
And the other two are going to be like, "No, the fuck you ain't."
Yeah, there's at least going to be one person that's like, I'm going to fucking hit that. And there's going to be at least one person that goes, "No, the fuck you ain't."
And it actually makes sense. And also, I forgot who the thief guy. What was his name?
Ranta.
The main character.
What an impression!
Haruhiro. Haruhiro.
Yeah, Haruhiro.
Haruhiro.
Some of the moments where he's like following Yume, and he has this ass shot.
Like when they're crawling.
Like right in his face.
Only because they are the two scouts. So he ends up following her a lot. You know, just out of
necessity.
You know, she's the archer. She has to be able to see farther. So yeah, it just makes everything hysterical. Oh man.
But again, I mean, it's just a little moment, and they usually, they didn't beat that whole deal into the ground. They didn't beat that horse too much.
Yeah, that's the other thing with that one. Like, there was that one moment in the earlier episodes where there was them trying to peek or whatever, and then they didn't. Like, they addressed it again, like with the whole privacy thing, but they didn't really like beat it into the ground, like having Ranta trying to peek on them every episode or something.
Exactly.
I think that is what I expected from Shimatsu no Izetta. I expected, because that's what I got the first 3 episodes.
Little moments. Right?
Little moments.
Male gaze here, you know. Well, maybe even as late as episode 4, I was all right with that. You know, if they would have just kept that to like that scene or that episode, that would have been fine.
Well, that's why I was still trying to defend it, you know, in episode 4, because it was like, okay, we got one episode where it was just over, you know, changing scene, boobs flopping out, bathing scene, plus an unwanted groping scene. You know, that if they'd have left it there, then I'd have still been able to defend the series. But then they just kept going.
The only reason why I don't really mind the whole girl groping girl is because of an ex that I had who had no problem doing such a thing. So I was used to seeing that in real life.
Everyone, all together now. Damn normie. Love you, bro.
Well, she was weird. She was weird too.
If you're watching, and I know you are, love you too. But you can't deny it.
Anyway.
And please don't read the list on air.
But that's, I was expecting more Haito Gensu no Grimgar points. I don't mind quite so much the bathing scene.
Just
I didn't like the Bianca scene because it really nailed in the fact that entire story plot was specifically to make Bianca uncomfortable and to force that situation on her, and it makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah, it kind of forced them to bring that to finish off that story.
Yep.
And here we are talking about Shimatsu no Izetta again. Might as well just make this the Shimatsu no Izetta podcast. I mean,
We try to bring it up other series.
Well, it's something that's happening right now.
Yeah. It's actually a good part
Has
of the
an
reason
example
why.
of good and bad.
Well, I mean, with all the conversation about it as well, in our comments section and elsewhere online, in the online anime fan community, because, you know, it's topical. It's a timely topic. So it's a pretty good part of the reason why we're doing this podcast right now.
Yep.
So yeah, we had to come back to it at least a couple times.
Gate. And heavy object.
Ooh.
Just
2? Oh. Great all around.
Those were fantastic fan services.
A lot of fantastic fan service in both.
so with Gate, the reason why it was so good was because, at least from the fan service standpoint, was because none of the fan service was like super over the top. Like you get the moments with Rory, or you get the moments in the ending of the second core. Where it shows the bathing scenes, but that's not in the anime, But other than that, I mean, sticks to what it's supposed to be.
It's not ecchi by nature.
Yeah.
There, it's a little cherry on top, not the whole damn sundae.
Yeah.
I mean, what you get in both is ungodly awesome military action in a non-real world setting. Or at least a non-present day real world setting. Interestingly,
I mean, it has fan service. They both have fan service. It's very minute.
They have several great moments of fan service.
Yeah.
Miranda on the pole, at least that vision thereof.
Pretty much anytime that Melinda, anytime that Melinda is on screen, there's usually fan service having to do with her. Okay, I wouldn't say anytime, but a lot of the time. But again, that series is like, it doesn't actually have a comedy tag on the site, but I would consider it a comedy.
I would,
because it is.
Just like all the dialogue between Quinther, Havia, Melinda.
Yeah, Melinda
and Ferladia. Oh my goodness, absolutely awesome. It definitely deserves a comedy tag. So does Gate, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
For that.
I think that's actually interesting that Gates is a harem. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't actually act a lot like a harem.
It's not marketed as such either.
Well, I think for Gate, the reason why it's, it doesn't act a lot like a harem is because it has so many characters and so many different viewpoints. Mm-hmm. Like even like with the second core, you don't get a whole lot with God, I forget the main character's name
again.
But you don't get a lot with his group. Like you get Isami. You get a ton with the other characters. So that's why it doesn't have that typical harem feel.
Yeah, whereas in High School DxD, it's basically the occultic research club. That's your focus.
It is Issei's harem.
Yeah.
Like, straight up.
I tried to give it the proper name, but yeah, Issei's harem. Yeah.
Issei's harem plus the 2 gay options.
Yep. Issei's harem.
Quite interesting. So, what have we learned today, gents?
Not a goddamn thing. I mean, what?
There are many instances of fan service that in one series can be considered good, and another series you can get almost the exact same thing and it could be considered bad.
Yeah, it's like ingredients in a dish. I said before, when done incorrectly, what were we talking about? Testament of the Sister New Devil? Because I forgot the Japanese name. That was like putting hot sauce on a cake.
Shinmai no Testament.
Shinmai no Testament, thank you.
But yeah, and then I kind of put that comparison between Konosuba and ReZero. Mm-hmm. Again, if there was something that we saw in Konosuba that was brought up in ReZero, it wouldn't have worked.
If ReZero tried to emulate Konosuba's fan service, it would be a flop.
Yeah, could you imagine having fan service moments with Amelia and Ram?
You couldn't take it seriously.
Yeah, you would never be able to take it serious.
Episode 19. Rem's confession. That whole scene. You might as well just wipe your ass with it and flush it down the toilet. If you tried to make ReZero that kind of series. Because you couldn't, there was no way in hell you could take it seriously.
Yeah, interestingly enough, it did have a couple moments where it had a male gaze.
Again, I mean, it's not.
You got some Rem and Ram chests. You got some Amelia chests.
Right.
You got Amelia's lap. Stuff like that. But it didn't go over the top at all. In fact, I don't think that
it was the fan service that was in the series was very downplayed.
Actually, that could be another thing we learned today. Sometimes, actually a lot of times, it's best to stick with the classics. Your classic examples of fan service. A little bit of male gaze, a little bit of battle damage, stuff that we think our father of fan service go Nagai for.
But at the same time, there are some cliches that are just bad and you shouldn't use them. Walking in on the main girl changing, and that's how you introduce your characters to each other.
Walking in on character Character X bathing.
Or jumping up and walking into a red or pink-haired female protagonist's apartment while she's bathing.
Or another series that we actually didn't talk about in this podcast. Falling through the only weak spot in an otherwise pristine roof.
Oh God!
And falling into the bath right on top of the main female character.
Oh God!
That's how you introduce your characters to each other.
No, that wouldn't happen in one of our D&D campaigns. No.
Oh yes, it would.
You underestimate his perviness.
I overestimated your
Intelligence?
Ouch. I wasn't going to go that far. More like storytelling, but, well, yeah, now the more I think about it, the more likely it is to happen.
It's already happened.
So, hi. Today I learned we contradict ourselves a lot.
Yes, today I learned that we are
not
hypocrites.
totally hypocrites when it comes to tits and ass.
No, but I mean the whole idea of fan service, it's very subjective.
Yep. It is. It's
like something that excites somebody might infuriate another.
It's like taste in women in our example. Justice, plot, so on and so forth.
That one argument between different types of warfing that you and me have. It is subjective. A lot of things are subjective.
There we go.
Anime is art.
It is indeed.
Art in general is subjective.
That actually is the one thing to remember, yeah.
But so I know that we end up contradicting ourselves a lot in this podcast, but the real thing is, like, with some series things work, with another series that same thing might not work. Like it's not just a formula like, oh, if you put this in, then it's going to be popular. But that's going to do it for this time on Otaku Saga Talks. We look forward to seeing you next week. But as always, I'm Rizzo.
I'm Zero.
And I'm DK.
See you next time.
I was thinking more.
Actually, let me bring up, before we really end here, let me bring up an example of bad male gaze. Anatori XX. It's literally all it is. They're 4-minute long episodes, and they each have one girl in them that exercise. And during the exercise, the camera is panning all over her body.
That's it. Really?
That's all it is. And the reason why it's bad is because that's it. That's all that there is. Like, that's the only purpose of the series is to look up and down the body of a girl while she's exercising.
Might as well
It's literally Gym Creeper.
Gym Creeper.
The anime.